Hey guys, and welcome back. I can't say that whatever I'm going to be presenting on this video is the product of me thinking or cooking up this entire theory on my own, but this is rather the product of a back and forth between me and Hillbilly Author on Discord, an amazing conversation that did yield these theories in the end, or these thoughts is basically one theory that does take us throughout the entire upcoming season of The Gifted. Whether it's gonna work out or not, that's up for grabs, we don't know yet. We don't even know if the series is gonna end up being renewed for a third season, but nonetheless, it never harms to stay positive, never harms to start thinking ahead and theorizing on what is to come. And one of the beautiful things about this theory that both of us kind of thought about over here is that it ends up with the series joining in with the MCU. That's pretty easy to do really with The Gifted, because so far we've got no proof that The Gifted is kind of connected to the X-Men universe except the words of its producers. So you can cut those ties if the X-Men is gonna be rebooted by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You could also pass the Von Struckers as another branch of the Von Strucker family that's already part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But anyway, though, so far too much talk and not enough walk, so let's start with a walkthrough of this theory and then discuss the details at the very end. So number one, we're gonna have to understand what happened to Blink over there. I mean, did she just end up in the future? Did she end up in another dimension and then in the future? I think it's the former. I think she just fell into that portal and ended up in the future. Now the question that a lot of people are going to have over here is, why didn't she just come back to the past right away? Come back and join up with these guys, or even take them to that future, that miserable future. I think over here that Blink couldn't come back. I think that Blink did not know how these powers activated in the first place, what's going on. She did not even understand that she was in the future until a while after, once she was treated of her wounds and stuff. I do assume as well she tried her best to make it to the past, least there is, to warn these guys as well. But nonetheless, these are abilities she didn't understand, ones that activated when she was panicking and being shot. I mean, she looks different, she dresses different, and her powers as well are kind of different. She now uses those projectiles in order to be able to open those portals. I wouldn't be surprised as well if her portals at this moment can shoot such projectiles as well at her enemies, just like her portals in the comics, after a lot of development of course. So yeah, Blink dropped through that portal into the future, spent a lot of time over there, kind of trained a lot to be able to open other portals through time in order to get back to these guys, and that's exactly what she did over here, after a lot of time in the future. That also explains why Blink was kind of cold when she made it back to that time. I mean, you would expect that she would just hug the hell out of John, but she didn't, because for her it's one of those situations. So next season you could expect her to say something around the lines of, "For you, it might have been days, but for me, it's been a long, long while." But number two, expect that future not to be in close proximity, so I'm expecting something around the lines of 2035, 2040, and for very good reasons as well. So I might be getting a little bit carried away over here. I mean, when you look at that final scene, those few final scenes on the finale of the second season, I'm thinking, and you're probably thinking, that they're basically telling us where everyone stands. But I was also thinking they might be giving us some possible Easter eggs to the kind of things that we might see on Season 3. Like for example, we've got Marcos and Lorna reuniting with Dawn. Makes you think if it is a possibility that we could see an older Dawn on Season 3, a teenage Dawn maybe. And this teenage version of Dawn has now gotten her powers, everything straightened out, she's grown enough to have her powers, and she goes by the name Aurora. You could expect something like, "My father used to call me that." Now I'm gonna get in a moment here to the reasons as to why she would use words like "used to" rather than "does call me that," but nonetheless, imagine that scenario. I mean, it does seem like it's a very plausible one considering Dawn has so far been referenced too heavily as possibly being Aurora. But moving on to number 3, there are other possibilities when it comes to Blink. Like we can expand on this one possibility to include other possibilities. Like for example, she might have started the Exiles in the future. Like this is also the start of an Exiles arc. She's basically leading the Exiles as well. Now of course this version of the Exiles is not going to be the exact version as per the comic books because Thunderbird is already there and he's not going to be part of these Exiles. Talia Wagner, aka Nocturne, probably is not going to happen because of possibilities of conflicts with Marvel Studios and the fact that she might be used in the future by Marvel Studios as a descendant of none other than the Scarlet Witch. However though, I do expect the introduction of a character like Morph. I do expect the introduction of all new original characters made for the TV series or created for the TV series, just like the cases with the Struckers of this series and just like the cases with Marcos, Rebecca, and Glow. But to talk more additions to these Exiles, let's talk number 4. So there's the possibility that we're going to hear a statement like, for you it's been days, for me it's been years and years. There is the possibility that John Proudstar is actually dead in the future, and there is the possibility as well that there's another Proudstar out there. That would be James Proudstar, younger brother to John with similar abilities, and the person who happened to have taken over the mantle of Thunderbird for a while before he became Warpath. And he could as well be one of the members of these Exiles. I'm just hoping though they're not one of these love triangles over the course of the relationship between Blink and John over the course of Season 3, because that would be just really horrid and really terrible. It's one of those things that you do expect to see on the Arrowverse series, but not on The Gifted. But moving on from Blink and John and the Exiles and the thought of love triangles, we can talk number 5, the Brotherhood of Mutants, or shall I say the revival of the Brotherhood of Mutants. And the thought over here is that Polaris would be the one to revive it. So we would be basically put under the impression that both Polaris and Eclipse died, or at least Eclipse died, but rather I prefer that Polaris and Eclipse died. And then we would start finding out that the Brotherhood of Mutants is out there, having been revived. And there would also be the situation where no one actually ever saw either of Eclipse or Polaris die, but nonetheless there was this general consensus that they are dead. Now once again, the expectation is that Polaris would be the one to start over the Brotherhood of Mutants. The better twist though is that Polaris is dead and Eclipse is the one that we discover later on is the leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants. Makes a lot of sense. Look, I've always believed in good, I've always tried to do the right thing. I stood to Polaris when she went all bad and joined the inner circle, but nonetheless it just never worked. Maybe she was right. Maybe that's the only way. The beautiful thing about having a character like Eclipse is that he's an original character created for the show, so you really never know what they could do with him. They've got a lot of flexibility and they could surprise you all the way with this character by giving him new arcs, different arcs, playing around with his character and changing it completely. No one would ever complain because it has no backing in the comics. Now for such a reveal to happen on the series, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to have a lot of build-up. It's not going to happen right away over the course of the first couple of episodes, but rather around episode 3 or 4 of the upcoming season. But number 6, and as I mentioned on my review video of the finale, Jace Turner is per his state on set finale. Jace Turner is per where he was at the end of set finale, because he wasn't in any kind of ordinary hospital. He's gonna be the villain known in the comics as Ahab over the course of next season, Master of the Hounds. But nonetheless, I know a lot of people are commenting, okay, but Roderick Campbell in the comics is supposed to be Ahab, and they've already introduced him on the first season and we're done with him. But they have never actually made him out to be Ahab, and I think the fact that they did this with Jace Turner is because they're not really sure they could get the actor back. I think he's busy with another TV series. But number 7 though, with the fall of the Sentinel services, we're probably going to end up seeing the actual Sentinels on the upcoming season, like the robots that we did see in the movies. Now these Sentinels are basically going to be hunting mutants, and besides that, hunting any humans who support, help, or work with mutants. But number 8, and I think this one is going to be the second biggest event on next season, traveling back to the past, because this is Days of Future Past. So you have got to travel to a past and change certain events in order for things to work in a certain way, and that's basically traveling to before 7:15 and avoiding or stopping the events of 7:15. Now, I'm not going to speculate further into this one, because it's not really the time to speculate further into this one, because, yeah, Season 3 is not even here. Season 3 is not even renewed. Besides that, the finer details will only be known by the time we start watching Season 3, like the first few episodes of Season 3. That's when we could speculate about the details of such events. But there's this one thing that's kind of guaranteed in this kind of scenario, and this kind of scenario is kind of guaranteed by the fact that this is a Days of Future Past arc. That's basically the fact that we're going to be able to see returning characters that died over the course of the first and second season, returning back to our screens. Like Reed Strucker comes to mind, the latest death as of the end of Season 2. Reed's father, Otis Strucker, does come to mind as well. Dreamer, Sage, and Vance are possibilities as well. One died at the end of Season 1, the other two died on Season 2, and they are probably going to come back on Season 3 because of this kind of scenario, this kind of event. But moving on though to number 9, the repercussions of working out things and stopping 7:15. And that is actually way more important than speculating over how they would stop the events of 7:15, because the outcomes would not just include us seeing those characters again, but them actually living on, because all the events that did lead to their deaths do not happen anymore. But there's also the other possible outcome, and that's the one I've been aiming for all along in number 10, the fact that there's going to be a timeline convergence, the creation of a new timeline. Now this series, by the time it airs its 3rd season, is going to be fully owned by Marvel Television, and Marvel Studios is going to be doing its thing with the movies in order to bring the X-Men in. Now by the time this season airs its finale, the 3rd season that is, airs its finale, I'm assuming the movies will have already progressed into bringing the mutants in, and that's when the series could do it as well, like this Convergence would be bringing them into our timeline, the MCU timeline. And that's really the best thing that the series could do if Marvel Television does intend on this kind of thing, because basically you've got these characters added to the roster of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the TV side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're having the possibility of crossovers with series like Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, for Lauren and Andy probably, but nonetheless you've got that possibility anyway. And if this series does get renewed on Hulu, then the possibility of a crossover with either of these two series, especially Runaways, does increase twofold. With that being said though, I think this is going to be my final gifted video for a long while, at least until we get a renewal and I could just give you the good news. But until then, you can let me know in the comments what you thought of these predictions. If you've got any predictions of your own for the upcoming season, you can let me know as well if you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, subscribing to this channel, and enabling notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. Until the next time you tune in for another one of my videos, the gifted or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to this one and other gifted videos throughout Season 2, and have a great day.